whatever it is, the DMT or the mushrooms or whatever it is, to take a hold of you and take you on a journey, then those journeys are generally positive.
It was extremely negative.
Yeah. I wonder what
but afterwards, it was great.
Yeah.
Like, I woke up the next day like, bro, I got to change a lot of things.
Right. So that's the thing about negative ones. Not really negative. They're just...
No, it's just hard while you're in it.
It's just a hard lesson.
Yeah.
It's a hard lesson. I think when people struggle with psychedelic experiences, or if people have legitimate mental illnesses that do psychedelics, that's never a good idea. You know, people that are like hanging on by a thread already and they eat 7 bags of mushrooms. Like,
bro, I was staring at people. Like, we were outside by a campfire, and I'd be like staring at someone, and they'd be like, "What are you looking at?" I'd be like, because their face would change. They'd have like 3 heads. I'd be like, "Dude, are you okay?"
So that makes me, what is that?
You know what's weird? They all kind of see the same things.
That's a problem.
It's like, you ever have sleep paralysis?
No, I haven't.
I had sleep paralysis one night, and it was at the foot of my bed. You've heard of sleep paralysis?
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure.
Foot of my bed, there's a long, spindly, shadowy figure just standing there, and it was fully real. It was real, and it walked along the side of my bed, like reaching its hand out at my face. And I woke up, tried to fight it. I thought it was so real that I thought it was like an intruder. You know what I mean? There was no part of me that was like, this is a demon.
I wonder what...
Months later, I found out about sleep paralysis. I had never heard of it. Googled it, and there was a image of exactly what I dreamed on the internet. Like, I saw it.
Whoa.
And I was like, it gave me fucking chills.
Like,
I was like, holy... And everybody sees the same thing. It's crazy.
But what I'm saying, what if it's real?
That's the mushrooms thing with like the ego death or whatever all those dumb fucking hippies want to call it. I did experience it, even though I'm like, these fucking dumb hippies. I literally experienced an ego death.
One of the weirdest experiences I've had is with 5-MeO DMT, which is a different kind of dimethyltryptamine. I think it has like a different molecule attached to it or something. And there's no visuals. With regular DMT, it's like these wild, fractal, psychedelic,
it looks like a video game.
Or luminous, and then you have entities that are communicating with you and these wild things. I'm
sorry to cut you off. The entities thing.
I had a bunch of jokes the last time I did it. Give me the finger. They were all jesters, like with the bells.
Really?
And and they're like this.
Oh, no.
It made me realize instantly, because my first thought was like, hey, fuck you.
Hey, fuck you guys.
My first instinct, like it was all laid out in front of me. They were saying, you take yourself too seriously.
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, you're right.
Damn, I wish everybody got to see you get that high. Get that high and be like, hey.
Listen, because it's true, and it changed the way, I mean, this was just a few years ago, the last time I did it. I think it was 2.5-ish, 3-ish years ago. And I still think of that as like, that made me a markedly more relaxed person from that moment on. Like the way because I was realizing like there's this tension when you're worried about what people think about you, and there's like a thing, if you take yourself too seriously, you don't want people to talk about you a certain way. And whatever it was, I'm doing this experience, and I'm all of a sudden, whoa, I'm in the DMT world, and there's these guys going like this, fuck you. And I'm like, what? And then I'm like, oh, and I go like this, like, oh, I get it. Like it was instantly apparent. Like I knew I had because you're managing a certain level of fame, and sometimes your ego gets in the way, or that your perceptions are off and you're not willing to readjust, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But these jesters giving me the finger, I realized exactly what it was about. You take yourself too seriously. I go, oh, and then I had to examine it really briefly. I'm like, you're right. And they all started nodding like that. Wow. They went away. And then they went away, and then it became this beautiful journey. But it was an opportunity for me to have a bad trip, because not terrible. It wasn't like demonic shit I was seeing. I was just seeing, fuck you, give me the finger. I was like, oh my God, there's so many of you. It was like fractal. There was like like who knows how many. Like there's no way I could count them. But there was a massive number of jesters giving me the finger. And it let me know, like, that shouldn't bother you at all. Like, that shouldn't bother you. You should embrace that. You have 2 ways to look at that. You could look at that and you could be bothered by it, and you could look at that and think that's hilarious.
Yeah.
If it's true. The only reason why you'd be bothered by it is you're connected to your own self-image, and you're connected to this idea that you want to project out to all the other people. And the jesters were right. And I was like, you're right. It's a great lesson.
It is.
They're right.
And I had no experience of psychedelics until I was in my late 20s, and then it was pretty mild. I had a couple mushroom experiences that I now describe as aesthetic experiences, right? One's
small doses,
1 gram. They never even measured it. It was probably 1 gram. So I'd never had a big trip. And there was another reason. I didn't feel psychologically sturdy enough, and I came of age just when the scare stories about psychedelics were everywhere in the culture. You know, they would scramble your chromosomes. You'd stare at the sun till you went blind. You know, the person who took all the orange sunshine and thought he was an orange for the rest of his life. You know, these stories were out there, and I was just afraid.
Yeah. Well, it's not an unfounded fear.
Oh, no, people can really get into psychological trouble. I think it's really important that people understand that it's a profound, powerful, destabilizing experience. And depending on your mindset and the situation in which you take it, set and setting, it can be or horrific. And you know, there are many people who had a series of very good trips, and then they have that one bad trip. And so, yeah, I had heard enough stories about that to stay away. So covering this kind of later in life, you know, I was certainly not something I planned on or expected.
It's a great tragedy, in my opinion, that our culture has demonized these substances and put them in this category of forbidden fruit, to the point where you're so nervous about doing them. You have to get them from some shady character.
And you don't know where you're getting.
Yeah, you have to do them in secrecy. You have to be really careful. But we also at the same time are aware of all these incredibly positive benefits from them. And then if we just had professional places where we could go to, I mean, we have these rehab facilities that are available for people trying to kick opiates and people trying to get their life together. But if we had something similar, like a psychedelic facility with registered professionals who understand this and who could evaluate you psychologically, understand if you're perhaps taking medication that would adversely affect your trip, try to find out who you are, what state you're at in your life. Have you had any experiences before? Maybe you should put you on a low dose THC
let's
edible,
ramp it up.
Something small, and see how you react to it. And then I don't think people like myself or pot smokers or people who have done psychedelics, I don't think we do it any favors either, because we're always trying to pretend that there is no adverse effects, and that there's people, when they get into something, they want everybody to do it, and I've been guilty of this myself.
Yeah, there's an occupational hazard of irrational exuberance. You know, this is what happened to Timothy Leary, right?
Yes.
I mean, people they have an amazing experience, and the first thing they think is everybody's got to do this.
Yeah, but
it isn't for everybody. And I think you're absolutely right. I think that, look, there are risks, but these are not drugs of abuse.
Right.
They're not addictive. They're anti-addictive. The first thought after having a psychedelic trip is not, when can I do this again?
It's whoa.
Whoa.
The last one I had, I was like, I don't know if I could do that again.
Yeah, I felt that way every time. It's like childbirth, or how we hear childbirth is. You can't imagine doing it again, and eventually you do it again. So I do think that we have to find the proper context in which to do it, and I think your point is really important. We need guides. The experience is completely different. It's guided. Because you have a sense of safety. There's someone looking out for your body while your mind is traveling. And this allows you to essentially surrender to the experience. And most bad trips, in my experience, are the result of people resisting what is happening. Their ego is dissolving and scary. It feels like a death, and they try to stop it. And that can be very anxious. And so all the guides I worked with and interviewed, they were all like, relax your mind and float downstream. If you see a door, open it. If you see a staircase, go down it. Surrender, trust, and let go. And this kind of advice changes everything. And the chances of that trip, I think, in a guided situation are substantially less, because they know how to help you deal with it and what to tell you when it's happening. So I do think that by forcing these drugs underground and into this very kind of unregulated use, there were not reports of bad trips were much fewer before moral panic about LSD in 1965, and when it was still legal. You didn't hear about bad trips. You started hearing about it when the culture did this 180 and turned against psychedelics. So I think you can create situations where the risks are really mitigated.
I think also the fear, like you were talking about right before the podcast, right as we started, some people worried that they were going to turn into an orange or think they're an orange, or all those fears. If you take something and those things are in the back of your head, and you can literally manifest extreme anxiety that might not have been there if you just relaxed and just had the experience alone, on its own, without all the cultural hysteria attached to it.
Or episodes of paranoia. Yeah. That's common too. So, but a good guide can work you through. And actually, they don't even like the term bad trip. They call it a challenging, because often very interesting material comes up that you then can work on later.
Yeah.
It's like having a nightmare, analyzing it with your shrink. It actually may be very productive. So I was kind of a nervous Nelly going into this, and I really looked at the risk profile. And on the physiological side, your body, the risks are remarkably low. And I'm speaking here of classic psychedelics. I'm not talking about MDMA or even pot. I'm talking about LSD, psilocybin, which is magic mushroom, DMT, mescaline. They are much less toxic than over-the-counter drugs you have in your medicine cabinet. There is no lethal dose, which is remarkable.
Yeah.
There was one elephant that was killed with LSD once. I wanted to see what it would take, and it was this. They gave massive dose, but to get it to the point where they could administer, had to give it a massive dose of tranquilizer. So it isn't actually clear that the LSD, it may have been the benzos or whatever they were giving it. I know, what a horrible thing, right? Go online and look up the elephant who died from LSD.
What a crazy idea.
Yeah. Animal cruelty.
What was going through the elephant's mind before it died.
Well, animals don't like...
But I'm interested as well with this. I keep bringing up the subject of DMT. What... I guess what I want to know about is, because I'm obviously a person in recovery. I don't drink, I don't take drugs, haven't done for a long time, and I recognise for certain people that they can't do it safely. Psychedelics and hallucinogens seem to me exist in a realm outside of that, because they're not pleasure seeking.
Right.
They're seem to me like it's a spiritual portal. However, I'm a crafty bastard when it comes to this stuff, and I'm always looking for an in. When I see your cannabis treasure trove over there, I mean, that is some, as you said, like Raiders of the Lost Ark stuff, and I'm holding in my hand now the CBD rich cannabis soft gels, clasping it, so I'm fascinated.
You're worried that that's a gateway, that CBD, which is not necessarily psychoactive,
as long as it's not psychoactive,
but it does help you with anxiety. It helps a lot of people because it alleviates a lot of inflammation, which tends to have a corresponding impact on your anxiety.
Oh, this says here 11 milligrams of THC. Does that mean?
It says THC?
It does say that at the bottom.
It's probably a 1-to-1.
Is this a 1-to-1?
Might be. Or it's like an 18-to-1.
Or 11. It says there's an 11 and a 1.
There's different ones in that box.
Oh, I almost gave you the wrong one.
Joe, what's next?
Glad you read.
A bag of smack.
Don't take that.
This one goes back in.
Don't take this one. This one's way more powerful. That's
really?
1-to-1. Yeah.
You seem very free from anxiety.
Feel great.
I will say. What I suppose I'm interested in, because listen, I'm meditating I meditate a lot. I'm doing all these things. I'm experiencing transcendent states. I'm experiencing what it's like to not feel attached to my identity as Russell. Who are you before you are Russell? Who are you before you identify yourself as a man in England? Who are you? Who is the person? Who is the consciousness? Who is the awareness? Now, when I listen to, say, Terence McKenna talking about his experiences in psychedelia at such length and with such lucidity and with so many philosophical connotations, and the way that he uses the information he's getting from hallucinogenic experiences to speculate on how we should organise society, what the implications are for freedom, his refusal to accept that there are certain kind of experiences that should be prohibited, that it's ridiculous that adults should be prevented from having that. I'm fascinated, but I'm also, I suppose, part of my bias is I love anything that gets me out of my head. I feel a tremendous sense of relief, whether it's through meditation or even sport or sex, being relieved of the burden of the constantly thinking mind. But when I hear those vivid descriptions of DMT realm or ayahuasca realm, I think something in me hungers for that, hungers for it.
Do you worry that you're trying to be intoxicated? You worry that you're trying to find a loophole?
Yeah, because I am doing that. I'm looking for a loophole. It's like I'm going around like a sort of a lawyer looking for some way that I could get into. Is there? Hold on a second. What about this clause?
Lawyer. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, I mean, I know people that have problems with addiction that have done psychedelics and didn't have a problem. But I'm sure some people have had problems, and I don't know about them. DMT is interesting in that, first of all, it's very quick. The experience is only about 15 minutes, 20 minutes max. And it's not necessary, it's not an intoxicant in the way that you would think about traditionally. You are still you in the face of this experience. And I think it's some sort of a chemical gateway. That's what I think. I think there's a gateway in your mind that can lead to some other dimension that's probably there all the time.
If there's a omnipresent, continually existing realm that human beings aren't accessing because of the particular biochemical formulation of consciousness as it is in this point in our evolution, and that we can get there. And it seems as like, I've heard Terence McKenna say, it's more real. It's more real. There's stuff in there.
Yes.
And excuse me. And when he talks about them beings, like that he describes as self-dribbling basketballs, creating like Fabergé egg, devices through vibration, and they're telling to do it.
I never saw that.
I want that.
He's called them machine elves. He's called them all sorts of different things. The way I've described them is they're the geometric patterns made out of love and understanding. That's what they seem like.
So you can look at a geometric pattern and read meaning into it. It had an emotional quality.
They're made out of things, and they move, they change. Like, they don't stay what they are. They're constantly evolving in front of you into something more and more beautiful. It's very weird.
What did it make you feel?
Like I knew nothing. That was the most profound aspect. Like, all of this stuff that you concentrate on every day is nonsense. And there is some other thing that's connected that's probably influencing this world.
Yeah.
And it's probably what people see when they have near-death experiences, the depictions of the afterlife. I mean, that's probably what it all is.
Religious experiences, when prophets are talking about, oh my God, I went into this realm, there's these beings, they've told me we're all one, we have to love each other.
Scholars in Jerusalem are connecting Moses' experience with the burning bush to the acacia tree. The acacia tree, which is rich in DMT. The burning bush is what God was to Moses. And that through this burning bush, he came out with these 10 commandments of how people should live their lives. I mean, that easily could have been just a very convoluted sort of translation of a DMT trip.
Certainly. And also, when you think of, certainly there are archetypal images that seem to be repeated throughout ancient cultures and archaic stories that seem to refer to the potential for plant experiences to affect consciousness. Even the Garden of Eden, do not eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge, that otherwise you will become as gods. Like, I sense that. Now, if there is some realm that we can reach through that experience that puts into perspective everything that else we experience on the material realm, and that thing seems to, in your words, be emanating love and understanding while ever changing, completely formless and communicating love and understanding, I can't help but think that should become our priority, to have a relationship with that realm and to bring about that experience. I don't even mean in a literal way, because even Terence McKenna said there are some people, vulnerable souls, he was probably referring to people like me, that probably shouldn't mess around with that kind of stuff.
I think he was really talking about schizophrenia, or people which he believed he had, by the way.
Did he?
Yeah, he had some very unique perspectives on schizophrenia and the way people interact with the world itself. I think if we lived in a healthy world, a healthy civilization that had a healthy relationship with psychoactive substances, we'd probably have centers where you would have a legitimate shaman, a medical advisor, and someone would take you through a guided experience. We're doing that now with ketamine. There's a lot of people that are very depressed that are having these physician-controlled ketamine experiences that have had a profound effect on their depression. My friend Neil Brennan's gone through several of them, and he's a comedian, a very funny comedian, so when he was describing it was hilarious. He was going to a doctor's office and tripping his fucking balls off. And the doctor's shooting him up with intramuscular ketamine.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and he's having these insane... I go, so you're having psychedelic experience? He's like, oh, yeah! The way he's describing it was really funny. Tripping his fucking balls off in these whatever states that ketamine. I've never experienced ketamine. I don't know what it does, but it's apparently profoundly hallucinogenic, and you have these wild, crazy experiences on it. And for whatever reason, it has a great impact on depression for a lot of people. I think it's a perspective enhancer, but it also does something to rewire the mind.
Well, some of this suggests is that mental illness is a response to our material conditions, whether that mental illness is schizophrenia, depression, or addiction. It's like people are going, oh, hang on a minute, this isn't how we're supposed to live. I took that ketamine one time towards the end of my using, and as usual, it's not in the right type of environment. You shouldn't be doing stuff like that in a nightclub. You need to be under that shamanic conditions, white coat guy or whatever, whoever you nominate as a shaman. But I felt like it was like going into a tunnel made of sound and like having to navigate. I was like, oh shit, I'm still in reality. What am I going to do? Is it as my sort of consciousness becomes a noise instead of a string of words and signs? How am I going to get out of this place? You know. So like for me, it's clear that drugs were never meant to be recreational. In fact, they never were. I was never, hey man, this is crazy. I was always like, I'm in fucking pain. I need some shit to help me out. Otherwise, I'm going to probably kill myself. You know. So like it was a way of holding that stuff at arm's length. So I guess my renewed curiosity around DMT and ayahuasca and other sort of plant medicines, and like do you know Daniel Pinchbeck and like them guys that are sort of part of that. I'm curious about it because I guess I'm continually trying to find a way where someone go, right, here's a way where we can do it where it's sort of safe. And I've heard of other people in recovery doing it. And when I think about what my motivation is when I hear people talking about and my own recollections of experiencing what felt like God, and by God I mean a sense of oneness, and that my individual identity isn't my real identity, and I'm connected to everything, and love is the most important thing. You know, I want a real experience of that, so that when I'm out in the world, I can remember when I'm driving or when I'm dealing with people, or if I'm buying something, or if I'm feeling inferior or feeling superior, that like you said, this is bullshit. This is like a secondary reality. Don't let it govern you. You know, as someone that's been seduced by fame, a person like, oh, if I get this part in this film, then everyone's going to love me. Oh, if this stand-up set goes well, you know, like a person that's placed all of my well-being outside of myself. The certain knowledge that there is an inner connection that will take care of you, that's accessible. I guess I'm, hungry to sort of feel it in a way that's like, oh my God, now there is no doubt. So in a sense, it's a crisis of faith, not a crisis.
There's psychedelic states that you could achieve without taking anything. I mean, you could certainly get there in a flotation tank. You could get there through holotropic breathing. I've never done Kundalini yoga, but apparently the people that get really deep into Kundalini yoga can literally have DMT trips. Yes. I know I have friends that have done DMT and have experienced DMT trips through Kundalini, but you have to be really dedicated. I mean, there's a lot of time. A lot of time, a lot of energy, and you have to really understand the methods and follow them to a T, and you can achieve these altered states of consciousness that are apparently, not from my personal experience, but from what people tell me, incredibly profound.
Yeah, I've had comparable things. I guess that what it's, the difference between feeling something that's that overwhelming that gives you no choice.
Yes.
It's not like, Kundalini, you've got to do these breaths correctly, you've got to sit there, you've got to try again.
Have you done it?
Yeah, I've done quite a bit of Kundalini. Well, what for me, it feels like what I felt quite a lot yogically and meditatively is a cessation of what I would call my individual consciousness. Like, oh, I'm not this. This isn't who I am. This is just a temporary experience. And all of the value systems of our world are built upon these primal drives in collaboration with a culture that likes to stratify people and manage people and operates like a massive farm where it's easier to keep people together operating in these kind of ways systemically. I've sort of felt rushes of that, like a certain wordless clarity, if you could imagine me having anything that was wordless even for a moment, and in that space there is great peace. So I suppose what's turning me on about the DMT and ayahuasca thing is that the way it's narrativized, that you're going to meet characters and stuff like that, and it's going to be plain and beyond doubt, because I suppose what prophets do, like whether it, when a prophet returns from whether it's the burning bush or the cave, they come back and they say, all this stuff that you're taking seriously is not real. There's this other realm. Start prioritizing it, or you are going to live in hell on earth. You're going to be governed by your materialistic drives, your sexual drives, and it's going to imprison you. And it turns out that they're right. And so, I suppose what I'm after, because partly, on a super, like on one level, influenced by what you're doing and how you've created your own, like you created your own business and your own success, like this symbiosis of stand up and the podcast, and like it's become like a sort of a lifestyle brand in a sense, Joe. Like, I'm sort of like, I don't want to be continually dragged into these like working within institutions. Like, I'm over here doing doing Ballers, and I'm bloody glad to be over here doing Ballers and working with The Rock. And I've got a funny story about that if you want it. Okay. But like really what interests me is like, can I dedicate my life to humorously communicating spiritual information and indeed starting to live it? So like, and I suppose what that would mean is, I'm getting better. Like, I'm not a person who's obsessed with porn or sex or drugs or whatever, like, to become it, to become what you actually are, to recognize that we're all different. Your perfect realization of you is going to involve hunting and all of these things that you've created through your gift. And that my perfect version of me is going to, involve all of this. And not everyone needs to build sort of empires or entertainment industries or whatever, but all of us are on some journey to self-actualization and realization, as individual as our fingerprints and as natural as a seed turning into a tree. And if we don't have a way of accessing that, no wonder we're dissatisfied. No wonder there's an opioid epidemic. No wonder people are bored and angry and lonely.
Well, I think what you can do is be yourself, and what you can do is express yourself, and what you can do is constantly seek to improve and grow, and you are doing those things. So if you're saying, can I do these things, can I be comedic and spiritual, and well, you're doing it,
right?
So it can be done. So you're doing it. It's all just a matter of whether or not you're satisfied with your progress and where you are and who you are and how you express yourself. Did you have a dumb moment?
I had a lot of insights. I don't know if I did actually.
How many different trips?
I did two psilocybin trips, one guided, one not, an LSD trip guided, a couple ayahuasca circles, and then I had a really weird psychedelic called 5-MeO-DMT, which is the smoked venom of the Sonoran desert toad. Who figured that out? Should get some kind of prize. But
that's a pretty potent one.
Very potent and short-acting. Short-lived. It was actually a horrible experience. That
really?
was my worst. Yeah.
I had a great experience on
it.
You did?
Yeah. Yeah. So
what was wrong with it?
So you take like one puff, and before you exhale, there's a synthetic version too, right? I was to venom. You're shot out of a cannon. There's no lead up. It's no warm up. It's like, boom. And I felt like I was actually like strapped to the outside of a rocket, going through space and through clouds, and like the G-forces pulling down peaks. And it was just this mental storm with nothing to orient myself. There was no space. There was no time. There was no self. And it was just unendurable, this punishing roar in my ears. And someone who had done it said eventually it's like a takeoff and you get into orbit, and it's very nice at that. But what happened with me is I had the storm. I mean, I felt like it was like the metaphor in the book is like, I said, I can't explain this. You can't tell a story without place, time, character, right? I had none of those.
Right.
It was just inchoate energy. And I said it was like before the Big Bang. You remember that? Obviously nobody does.
Yeah.
But there was pure energy and no matter yet and no time yet. I mean, that's where I was. And it was horrible. It was terrifying. And I thought I was dying. But then you come down as kind of a suborbital flight. And then I started coming down. And suddenly I could feel, I got a body. I was touching my legs. I have a body, and like, there's a floor, there's space, and then there's time, and the universe kind of reconsolidated. I had this feeling of incredible gratitude, not just for being alive, which all of us have had at one point or another, but that anything existed. I was full for the fact that there is something and not nothing, because I'd seen what nothing was like. And so in that sense, it ended up kind of positive, but I didn't want to go there to have that experience. So subsequently, somebody said to me, a very experienced psychonaut who I was telling this story to, he said, you didn't have enough.
That's what I was just going to tell you.
Really?
Yeah, because you only took one hit. You usually take three. You take 3, and the rocket ride leads you somewhere. It takes you to the center of the universe. 3 in a row. Take
the
a
same
big
time.
one, blow it out. Take a big one, blow it out. Take a big one, and as you're taking the third one, you're already seeing the world crystallize in front of you. It already starts turning into geometric patterns. You put the pipe down, lay back in the chair, and you just off to the center of the universe. The terrifying thing is you cease to exist. Like it's the one drug that I've ever taken where you're not there anymore.
No.
Even N-dimethyltryptamine, which is the difference between 5-methoxy-dimethyltryptamine is just an oxygen molecule attached to it. But N-dimethyltryptamine is incredibly visually stimulating. 5-methoxy is not.
Yeah.
It's just white.
It was definitely. I don't know how I could have taken 3 hits because I hadn't exhaled. The first one was gone.
I had the synthetic version of it.
Yeah.
You're doing this frog
and the person
version.
I know who did a very different experience, and they felt like they were installed in the firmament as this happy star. But I didn't get there, so who knows? I did something wrong. Okay.
I don't think you. I just think you had a different experience, and I mean, obviously, there's got to be some sort of chemical difference. I mean, you're probably getting other things in that frog venom as well as pure DMT.
That's right. That may be it.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know the answer to that.
It's fucking frog spit. I mean, do you
By
know
the way,
how
no frogs were harmed in the making of this drug.
It's excreted on the outside of their body. Most people
you can milk them.
Yeah, you rub them on a glass and then let it dry off, and then you scrape it off the glass and
it
then
crystallizes.
You smoke it. Yeah.
I
Good
heard
luck
you
with
just
all
kind of
that.
squeeze them, and then it sprays the glass, and overnight it turns into it looks like Brinker.
Yeah,
it's an amazing thing. You're the first person who knows anything about it who has
used to be able
interviewed
to buy it.
It was legal till recently, 2011.
Jug of this shit.
Oh my God.
Offline. I bought it from some company, American Chemical Company or something, and they send it to you. And I had enough to get the entire state of California high for several days because it doesn't take much.
It doesn't.
But it's not something you want to do very often.
I don't think it has the kind of healing properties because you're not bringing back information that's usable.
I brought back a lot.
You did?
Yeah, I brought back a lot about myself. And one of the things that I realized, like as I recorded, what I would do is post-trip, I'd hit a tape recorder right when I became conscious again and start talking about the experience. And what I remember saying about the 5-methoxy DMT experience is like, as I'm trying to recount what happened, I feel my ego trying to retake hold of the situation and even use words in a way that might impress you with my ability to describe things. Or as a professional comedian too, I was aware that like a lot of what you're doing, you're saying things in a way that's pleasing to people so that they get excited about hearing you talk. And I was very aware of that while I was doing that. I'm saying I'm trying to explain things that are not possible to explain because the words that we're using were all invented for a world that doesn't exist in the DMT dimension. And once you break through, it is so profoundly alien that any words...
And liberating?
Yes. Yeah. Well, in a way, I mean, it may be really, truly realized that we are in a soup of atoms. And that it's not, there's not like Michael Pollan, Joe Rogan, and Jamie Vernon in a room. Here's a wood table. There's oxygen in between us. No, we're in a universal stew of particles. And it breaks those particles down, or at least it gives you a view into that, and you cease to exist, which is the most bizarre thing because it's so similar to N-dimethyltryptamine chemically, but so different in
experience.
The fact that you're not there while you're doing regular like N-dimethyltryptamine, which is the active ingredient in ayahuasca. Have you done that, the pure version of it?
No, not the pure version.
The pure version is like a very short, much more intense ayahuasca experience. I've never done ayahuasca. I've only done the DMT version. But
by injection or
no, smoking it. But what you get out of it is you're there while this is happening, and you're just blown away, and you're like, I can't
that's
believe
true in
what I'm
ayahuasca
seeing.
too. You're present.
But there's all these entities that are trying to calm you down. Relax, take it in, settle down. They're all trying to calm you down and alleviate.
Helpful.
Yeah, it's weird, They're also fucking with you, like they give you finger. Like I had a bunch of jokers that were like dancing around me, giving me the finger.
Did you have machine elves too?
I don't believe in that thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. Like McKenna had those experiences of machine elves. I saw what I described as complex geometric patterns that are made out of love and understanding. They seem to me to be like the building blocks of the soul all around you all the time.
Wow.
Like some just gigantic, impossibly large, infinite well of souls. Just these things dancing around you, and they were never one thing. They would be one thing for a second, and they change into something else, and then they change into something different. And the more profound the experiences got, the more profound the next one would be. And they kept saying, like, look at this, look at this. Yeah. But the words weren't real words. That's the other thing. It's like I'm saying the words, look at this. And I would have that in my head, but I never heard anybody say it. It was almost like it was triggering the concept of those words in my mind.
Right. It's pre or post linguistic, some of these experiences.
Now, speaking of smoking good stuff, how did you find out about DMT, and how did you get involved? Because I read something about you having these positive DMT experiences. I'm like, wow, how strange is it reading about, this massive bodybuilder now getting into psychedelic drugs?
Well, I did ayahuasca. I was in Brazil. I met my wife, who was outside. She lived in Brazil, so we went out to the Amazon. But this was like 10 years ago, So people weren't really... Not like now, people know what ayahuasca is because there's so much information out there. Yourself talking about it, I'm talking about it. It's a ton of stuff on the internet. Wasn't so much then, but I heard about it. And I heard about it as this life-changing experience and all that stuff. So we were out in Brazil, and we got this guide, and I asked him for ayahuasca. And he's like, bring me these 2 bottles of brown stuff. I don't even know to this day if it was really ayahuasca. But I just got really sick and didn't see any great revelations apart from I got this thing in my head, stop poisoning yourself. But the night before, I'd been out drinking, getting drunk and everything. That was my experience with that. Then a friend of mine out here in California, actually, I knew about DMT. I used to live in Amsterdam, and I read the DMT spirit molecule and all that stuff, so I knew about it, but I had no idea to get this stuff or where you can get it from and everything. So a friend of mine got it, and that was my first experience of leaving the room, so to speak, and
leaving the planet.
And then since then, I had some very positive ayahuasca experiences, but with a shaman and doing properly and preparing 5 days of restricted diet and no sex and all these kind of things you do to prepare and also afterwards. So DMT is blow the fucking doors off your perception and realize that this world we're in is it's nothing. It's just a little illusion, right? There's so much more outside of it. So there was that. But with the DMT, I think it's you got a computer with so much storage space, and you got it's 1,000 times more than you can retain. So you see all this stuff, and while you're there, you're like, ha ha ha, I know everything. Oh, yes. But when you come back, how much of it can you hold on to,
Right.
So you've seen it, and that's makes you look at everything differently. But the ayahuasca is over hours, so I feel from the ayahuasca I actually benefited more. It was like going through therapy or something because it was much slower and I could digest it,
Right.
So, but doing it with the shaman, I did it with a guy called Guillermo Avarello, and he's one of the top guys in the world from Peru. He comes to Spain a couple of times a year, so I did it with him, and it's probably, I don't know, it's probably 2 or 3 years since I did DMT because I sat down one day and I said, right, actually I fasted for 2 days before, so I'd be just in the zone. And I said, right, I'm going to sit down. I got my DMT here. I got my vaporizer here. I'm going to fucking smoke as much DMT as I possibly can till till I go on and pass out. So I had that experience, and since then I don't feel any need to do it. I don't think there's anything more I can take from it,
I've had people tell me the same thing. They had such a profound breakthrough experience that they're like, okay, I get it. Yeah, I had a crazy one in around I want to say 2008 or 9 or something like that, and I took a long time off. I didn't do it again till 5 years later, maybe.
Yeah, it's pretty intense, man. I mean, the ayahuasca is nice because it comes in nice and subtle, and you go through hours of this thing. But DMT is
last time I did DMT,
and you feel very anxious when you it's almost like you're leaving your body, and then no, I don't want to. And,
Yeah.
So you get that bit of anxiety.
But once you go,
it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool. But
have you done it more than one time in a day, multiple times in a night?
I just just blasted it as far as it could go, and that was it.
I've done it several times over the course of a few hours, and you're more comfortable letting go that way in some sort of a strange way, but it never gets less alien.
Well, I'm not going to mention his name. I don't know his name, but we had an experience, me and my friend, a few months ago that I've never seen before, because usually people take DMT, they're very calm and sit in a chair and you go off and you might start laughing, but you don't move much, right? And this guy, he just like freaked out, and it wasn't for 10 minutes, but for half an hour. My friend was a former MMA fighter, used to fight with Shamrocks, so he knew wrestling techniques, so he had to hold this guy on the floor to stop him from hurting himself, because he was totally freaking out. So I could see the guy was going through something traumatic from the past. So today I messaged him. I was like, "Hey, did you ever find out what the guy? What was that? Because it was." He said, "Yeah, it was from his birth."
What?
From his birth, when he was born, he had the cord around his neck. He went back and he relived this, and so that had been in the back of his mind all his life, subconscious. Subconscious has a huge effect on us, but we don't know it's there. So now he opened that box and let it out, and it's gone now.
Wow.
So it can be therapeutic. Yeah, I thought this guy is like, wow, he's gonna. But when he came back, he was like, "Hey," I'm like, "You good?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm good." I'm like, "Do you know what just happened?" He's like, "No." I said, "Good thing we filmed it then, man. Go home and watch this."
I had a friend who freaked out too. He freaked out. He threw up. Took his shirt off. Was running around saying a bunch of crazy shit. And then after he came down, we calmed him down. It took like 10, 15 minutes. He goes, "Okay, well, obviously I'm a work in progress." I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that statement.
But did he know what it was that was him so much?
No. Well, he had a bad childhood for sure.
Well, everything, most of our shit is from there, right?
Yeah.
From the developing years.
No, for sure. Yeah, I mean, and especially like real dramatic ones, abuse, being beaten by his stepdad, and a bunch of fucked up shit that was just haunting him.
But he helps you to come to terms with that. Especially the ayahuasca, because it's longer. I felt like the first time I did ayahuasca properly with a shaman, I felt like I was a different person the next day. I felt it was like I'd done 20 years of fucking therapy or something.
Yeah.
Just a lot of stuff I'd worked out in my mind. I could even see other people's point of view on things and that I couldn't see before. And,
that's huge, right? Seeing other people's point of view, because especially a guy like you who's so determined and goal-oriented and just cut out all the bullshit and get it done.
Yeah, it can be a little insensitive to other people's feelings around it, because you're just like, nothing, keep out my way.
That's a main thing in particular anyway, right? And then add
it's like
steroids on top of that. And bodybuilding and intensity and competition, and then being the best, arguably the best ever, and just fucking grinding every day.
Well, my son said to me weeks ago, he's like, "Dad, you don't see yourself as other people see you." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I remember when I was a kid, first of all, the size, it was fucking huge, but it's your persona. You might have said to me something very normal, whatever, what are you doing with a dog? Just something normal." And he said, and I'd be like, "Oh," because just your presence made me feel like that,
Right. That's weird when you're a little tiny kid and your dad's a gorilla.
Yeah. I remember he did kickboxing, right? So he got his black belt when he was about 11 or something like that. And that was my thing. I used to take him to kickboxing and pick him up. And he's like, "Dad, can you wait outside?" I'm like, "What do you mean? You don't want me to come in?" And "Can you just wait outside?" I'm like, "You don't want me to come?" It's like, "Yeah, but everyone's freaking out and looking at you." And
well, it's got to be nice
so
now.
Fucking coming inside, man.
Semi-anonymous in crowds now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, unless someone's a hardcore bodybuilding fan.
Well, there's the thing. Not necessarily slow, because of the interviews I did on London Real, and I talked about ayahuasca and DMT and spirituality and reality and all this stuff. I get so many people coming up to me they're not from the gym. I get housewives, young kids. It's almost like, "You're the guy from London Real. You're the guy that So I get a whole bunch of other people that appreciate what I'm saying about spirituality, about reality and life, and they're like, "Fuck, man, what you said that really helped me." And I got so many letters, emails, and stuff. People, they just took something away from what I was saying. So, I mean, that's really why I do these interviews. It's just trying to help the whole general vibe and the put it out there, and there's a whole consciousness awakening, a revolution going on now, and I'm just want to push some dominoes, and like create that effect. And then, if you touch one person, they touch somebody else, and it's like, the butterfly wings flap here, and the other side of the world is a,
Yeah, it really
tsunami or something.
It does be working in that regard, right?
It is man. It's the time. There's so many people that are more aware now than like 20 years ago.
Isn't it kind of? I mean, there's parallels to bodybuilding, right? That when Arnold first started doing it, there was very little information, hardly, and you guys got to see what they did and build upon that, and more information came out. And now, because of the internet, there's so much information.
Almost too much information.
People
now
are aware more of what it's all about. Well, with psychedelics, I mean, 20, 30 years ago, there's so much ignorance and so little understanding. And also so little understanding, especially when it comes to something as extreme as DMT. There's still a giant percentage of our population doesn't even know what it is.
Yeah, they should all take it, especially the fucking politicians. I like to get those politicians, man, and fucking get them in a room and force them to take DMT, and then see how they're going to behave afterwards.
Yeah. How
they're going to look at the world and treat people after they had that experience. I don't think you can be, so self-centered and unfeeling as most of them are after you've had that experience.
Any breakthrough psychedelic experience, whether it's psilocybin or LSD or DMT,
they're all
ego
different road to the same place.
Well, Tim Kenny used to say that DMT is the center of the mandala. The way I describe DMT is it's like mushrooms times 1,000,000 plus aliens.
Yeah.
And that it seems so titanically bizarre. That there's I've tried to describe it to people, but I always say, look, I'm going to tell.
I'm going to do it, man.
Yeah, I'm going to give you some bullshit words.
Yeah,
I'm
you can't really do it because
there's no way.
We don't have words,
right?
To put it into words, you can attempt to. I went to this place. Well, it's not a place, but
right.
I don't have the word for it.
The place,
and there's colors, there's numbers, there's shapes, and
people. Things,
and there's
gestures.
Everything is all one fucking thing. And what I noticed is my breath was connected to it. I don't know how it happened, but I was in the trip and I went like that, and the whole thing moved.
Yeah.
I was like, really? Let me try this then. And then the whole thing moved, and then there was music playing, and music was part of the thing as well. Like the thing. I don't even know what to call it. The thing, the place. I don't have a word,
We put a bunch of these shaman Icaros.
Yeah.
And the shaman Icaro, this is the last time I did it. And the shaman Icaros literally made the DMT images dance.
Yeah.
They had figured out a way with these sounds and songs to integrate these beats into DMT trips. And as you would take these trips, these shamans had figured out the right sounds and songs and how to make the trip more intense and sort of guide it in a strange way.
Well, that's what with the shaman with the ayahuasca. He comes around and he sings these acaros, and then it's changes tone, and then it goes deeper bass in his chest, and it's it becomes part of it, And I was even moving involuntarily. My arms was going up, my body was moving, and it's like, I'm not doing this. I don't even know how it's happening. It's like somebody's picking my arms up and moving. I was, started dancing around with this, becoming part of this rhythm.
Wow. I had experience once, one of the first times I ever did DMT, where I saw the difference between negative and positive thinking. I started thinking negative, and there was all this black and dark green and these threatening shapes and colors, and then something recognized what was going on in my brain, that these shapes and images were connected to negative thinking, and I relaxed, and the shapes kind of settled down, and then I started thinking positive. I heard all these expressions of love, but you're hearing it, but you're not really hearing it. It's the thoughts are getting into your head, someone's trying to say it without using words. And then I started thinking positive, and from those dark images blossomed these beautiful geometric flowers and colors and impossibly spectacularly beautiful images. And I was like, oh, and I recognized in my mind there's an actual thing that happens when you think negatively, and it's not just some sort of an abstract
everything.
idea.
You affect the program.
Yes.
You're in a program,
yeah.
and your thoughts, The program's coming towards you, and your thoughts are going, and it's interacting with the program. You know,
And that's why conflict, like interpersonal conflict between people, can be so negative. It's not just as simple as you and some person getting into an argument.
Yeah.
It's those dark images and those negative forces. It becomes a part of your system.
I had the same thing. So, but it was almost like a tunnel. I was in this tunnel, and it was the same thing. It was like, ugh,
Yeah.
like all these images around and scary and everything. And I was like, instinctively, I knew to be very relaxed.
Yeah.
And I started laughing like, fuck you. You're not even real. You're not even real. And when I said that, it went away, and I just got this thing that came into my head. You've just been in the valley, what's it called? The valley of the shadow of death. It's in the Lord's Prayer, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you should fear no evil, because God's by the side.
Right.
I vaguely remember it from school or something. But I got this thing that you were there, and you're in the valley of the shadow of death, and because you, like, fuck you, like, oh, it's not even real. It just disappeared, and then I went to somewhere really nice.
Wow. Yeah, I just wonder how much is real. You know, it's such a hippie thing to say. Like, how much is real? I don't know. You know, I've been having these thoughts a lot lately. Like, how much of life do you manifest? How much of life is real? Because it's such a bullshit thing to think. It's such a hippie thing to think. And so many people that say that are so annoying.
Yeah, but scientists are saying the thing now.
Yeah, well,
Quantum physicists are saying, who was it? I think the name's Professor Gates. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Professor Gates, and he said that they've broken down reality into the smallest level, and it's a computer code.
Yeah, I've seen that guy.
Not
I've
only is
seen
a
that guy
computer code, it's a specific computer code of zeros and ones, and it was invented in the 1940s by somebody.
Yeah, I've seen that guy being interviewed. We actually talked to Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I tried to get him to sort of break it down and explain. But what it is essentially that when you break reality down to the smallest level, it mimics a self-correcting computer code. Not just a computer code, but a computer code that's self-correcting, which is right there. I just said a bunch of noises that I don't even understand.
Yeah.
You know, it's gone beyond my.
But now you're getting spirituality and science.
Right.
It's coming together because the scientists are saying what spiritual masters. Well, they're already telling us that we live in an illusion and everything is inside, not outside. They were saying that thousands of years ago. And
But
now
some of it is
scientists are
real. Like, you have to work hard or you don't get results.
Yeah.
Right? Like, your hard, fast, pragmatic reality of being the best bodybuilder in the world, it revolves around actual work, real results.
in this reality, in this program.
But
You need to do physical stuff, yeah.
Probably there was a lot of mental shit going on there, too.
Absolutely.
The work was being done, but also there was probably a lot
thoughts
of...
all day. I mean, that's all I
Yeah.
thought about, like
Yeah.
literally all fucking day. So, you know, I had to have the physical goods to make it happen. I could dream about being a basketball player all day. Probably wouldn't help me because I'm not built to be a basketball player. But those thoughts were just going out all the time. And I was a kid in Birmingham, industrial city in England, and I was thinking, I'm going to go to America and I'm going to be a bodybuilder. And everyone around me was like, the fuck you talking about? So yeah, there was those thoughts all the time. So I think it's like a holographic program we're in, but we influence it, we interact with it, with our thoughts. That's kind of where I'm getting at now.
Yes, in some way. I talked about this before. We need to find a cul-de-sac and all buy houses there.
You mean the cult?
Yes. Would do the trick. It's tough to get people to live on a ranch.
No, I think the way you're talking about, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, not that hard. Like, I think the way you do it is in phases, right? So, like, the first thing would be just get the land, right?
Right.
And then,
Hire an architect.
yeah, hire an architect. And then, like,
Bring in Alex Gray.
yeah,
Trying to get to that thing that he did in Upstate.
beautiful.
Have you been there personally?
I've been there. I unfortunately haven't been there since it's completion. I don't even know if it's completed, but I've been there in the early phases. And yeah, that for sure is a temple. Like, it's no joke. It's not like they're just saying it's a temple. That's a real.
And the way he printed those weird faces, those
Yeah, man.
multi-feature faces, and used them in the corners of the building.
Yeah.
What is it? What does he call it again?
I can't remember. I'm sorry.
Cosm.
Cosm. I
Yeah.
thought you meant what he called those faces. He has a name for the face too.
Is that the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors? Is that what it
Yes.
sounds for? But isn't that Cosm was used to be what he called the place in New York City, right? He had the place in Manhattan.
Yeah, they had this. I think they still do have
They
a
do?
beautiful place in New York, actually, or like an artist loft there, I believe. But like they ended up realizing it was time to like
Spread their
build a temple.
Yeah, and then really go somewhere in nature. Like,
Yeah.
they're in like a small New York town, right?
Yeah, that's
New
right.
York State town.
Yeah, it's a
Pretty
beautiful
dope.
place.
Oh, actually.
And they're a legit
Theon.
religion. Yeah, that's right.
And they're an actual religion, which they
Yes,
are. I mean,
an
that is a
actual
religion.
Yeah, it is a religion. And by the way, a religion doesn't want anything from you. Like they're not trying to get 10% of your money.
No.
They're not giving you a bunch of rules to follow.
Nope.
They want you to worship love and creativity. It's a really interesting place. Is that? Oh, that's just an image of what it's going to look like. I don't think it's really quite there yet. But holy shit!
Yeah, man.
Can you imagine coming up to that, like walking up to that front door, and you're like, "Oh my god, what the hell am I looking at?"
Dude, when I was on tour, they let me park my tour bus there because we needed a place to sleep for the night. To sleep in front of that thing in my tour bus, and it hadn't even gotten to that phase, but I had crazy dreams just
my
sleeping
God.
there. Yeah, it was wild, man.
That's probably one of those if you build it, they will come things. Like, do you imagine how hard you would trip inside that place? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no.
Like, I don't think it's a. Like, you could do DMT in a shitty apartment and still have some crazy mind-blowing trip. But you can't tell me that coming to this place and going through this Entheon portal,
Yeah.
that this isn't going to have some fucking crazy effect on the way you trip.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
But that people, I mean, the idea is, I'm not just saying to trip or whatever, but the concept is like, you know, let's acknowledge the fact that maybe our ideas aren't necessarily coming from inside our brains. Let's just, as a fantasy, imagine that there is a divine intelligence that, as one of the many beautiful things it pushes into this particular realm, is art. And that if we can figure out a way to purify the connection with that thing, then we become receivers for that. And by doing that, we allow that thing to begin to exist in this world. And a temple was a place that allowed that connection to be refined, purified, intentionalized. And in that, there's a solidification called inspiration or art or whatever the name is you want to give it, but it's like output from a place that maybe is, you know, a few floors up from the one we're at, that's having a pretty wonderful party right now. And like part of what we do is like allow it to drip into this realm, which is potentially a denser realm. We're in the realm of matter. It's dense, you know, and like ideas, if you look at your ideas, they're light. They're like they don't have at least my idea is like they're not like heavy. Inspiration feels like barely anything. In fact, it's so barely anything. Think how easy it is to miss a good idea. How easy it is to think something cool that maybe you want to write down for a joke, and you're just like, I'll write that down later, and then it's gone. It's light. It's light. And so in part of what they, I think, are all about, or I mean, again, that's me putting it on them. They have a wonderful description on their website about what they're all about. But to me, part of what creation is taking those things, allowing them to come through you, and then allowing this realm to do what it does, which is to crystallize them in a denser form that other people can enjoy. And, you know, that enjoyment is that's enough. It doesn't have to be some lofty ass shit. It's just like people get a little like this tiny little smell of heaven, like a better place, a lighter place, a place that isn't encumbered by so much bullshit as this particular realm. That can like completely take someone out of a depression, man. That can completely give somebody the, juice they need to like get back out there and like open up themselves to the world and not be shut down. Just one little like tiny, tiny, minuscule reminder of like, don't worry, this isn't the only place. There's simultaneously amazing things happening which you're part of. You just don't realize it yet. And don't worry. McKenna used to, in one of his essays, that's what he'd say on mushrooms, is he would get this message, don't worry, we're coming. Don't worry, we're coming. And you know what I mean? But I think that's what art does, is it gives you this sense of like, don't worry. Right now, we're just building the runway. Don't worry. It's coming. I know this place seems fucked up. It's a little dense right now. We're going to lighten it up. And then that
How much of that is your own imagination, though? Like, how much of your own imagination stimulates your trips? You know, I mean, we want to assume that we're really interacting with something, right?
Yeah.
On the other side. But why do we assume that that's something? Obviously, it's not static. One of the things about tryptamine experiences is that things twist and change and morph and shift. They never stay any one thing for any length of time. They're always becoming other things and moving in and out of things. Like, maybe that's just what happens over there. Maybe these things are constantly shifting and changing. You know, maybe what we're doing is we're trying to apply, when we think of how we are here in this life, we're trying to apply those laws to whatever we experience when we do that. But it seems so alien when you have those experiences. It seems so alien. Like, you're not going to be able to bring any of that back. You can give someone like little glimpses.
Yeah.
And what Alex has done the best is capture, like, oh, I know what he's doing. Like those faces, those like almost Egyptian-looking golden faces that are moving and apart from each other. Like, you go, oh yeah, I've seen something. Yeah, something sort of. Yeah, there's a tryptamine part to that.
Yeah.
But that, whatever that would it be in that dimension, it would change and become something else instantaneously, and then become something else, and a lot of it has to do with how you're thinking, which is weird. It's like, is the way you're thinking actually affecting those things? Or is the way you're thinking affecting your perception of whatever this energy is and how it manifests itself visually?
Well, I mean, this is right. Even in what you're saying, there's this assumption that your thinking is separate from the thing.
Right.
And so we have a thought, and we're thinking to ourselves, I just got a good idea. We don't know that if we had a different way of quantifying time and space, we might have just seen some ethereal mist drift through us that produced a thing we called a thought that we thought must be us. So you look at a thing in that realm, and it's shifting and converting, and you notice that conversion seems to be happening in relation to like how you're feeling. And, you know, now you're in a chicken or the egg conversation, which is like, who's reflecting who here? Like, which of us is like real and which of us isn't? Or are we just kind of am I just seeing who I actually am? But because I live in a world of individuality, and I live in a world where there's a separate quality to things, I have to see you as separate. Because if I don't, I can't see you. You know, all I can do, I'm seeing myself in you, which is, I think, what is happening in this realm anyway. It's like anything you're looking at right now is some phenomena being painted instantaneously by your imagination. That's what the imagination is doing. It's painting colors onto the universe of infinite phenomena that your brain is like doing out of habit. So that's anyone you're around, you make an instantaneous assessment of that person, or you begin to like realize like, wait, I got a bad vibe about that person. I bet something's off with them. And then you go into like your TV psychic bullshit. Like, oh yeah, really? Oh really? Is that the instincts you learned? Where'd you learn that? World of Warcraft?
The street.
But I've done that. By the way, I'm talking about myself, where I'm like, yeah, I just can tell if a person is honest or it's like, no, I can't.
You can definitely, if a person's really fucking weird though.
That's for sure.
You can tell if it's off, like they're not really connecting with you, or they're pretending to connect with you, and you're like, whoa, I got a weird vibe from this guy.
Yeah, that.
Meanwhile, if you looked at what he said on paper and what you said on paper, would be totally normal.
That's true.
There's sometimes a certain things, a violation of space. There's a weirdness to the way they look at you, a cadence.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you're off.
I hate that deeper thing. When the alarm bells go off like that, your hair starts standing up. You're like,
gotta go.
I fucking hate that. That's scary. But, I'm just saying, sometimes you're not right. And this is like why you need empiricism in science, because sometimes you're not right. Like, just because you think that's how shit is from some instinct inside of you doesn't mean that's how things is. You're biased. And so that's the projection. That's like that's the part of you that you're still dealing with some trauma from when you're a kid, and you're seeing that trauma in all the things around you. And so you're like in an argument with someone who hurt you 20 years ago when you're talking to somebody who vaguely reminds you of that person. And if you're, you know what I mean? Like, you're still having the argument. And if you're not aware that you're still having that argument, then you can start saying shit like, why do I always end up with the same person?
Yeah.
It's like, I always draw this kind of person to me. And it's like, well, maybe you're drawing the exact same kind of person to you, or maybe you're running the same movie on a different screen and being like, I've seen this before. I keep seeing this movie. You know, it's like, that's the same movie. It's like you're seeing the same thing you're projecting. It's just, it looks like now it's not Tom, it's Alex, or now it's not Lisa, you're looking at Samantha, but you're still seeing this thing. And that's the projection. So anyway, that's the imagination. And the question is, how powerful is that projection? Because sometimes you start projecting onto someone how you think they are, and if that person's weak or insecure, they'll start acting the way you think they are.
Yes.
Now your projection is sprung to life in front of you because you've essentially animated a person with your expectation of them. And then because that person is acting the way you thought they would act because they don't know who the fuck they are, you're making monsters with your imagination.
Well, that's what cult leaders do, right? That's how you sex cult.
How?
The same way. You got to take these people and like put it in their head that this is what they do.
Oh, right.
You put it in their head.
Right. Yeah, that's right. You say you see.
Yes.
I see it in you.